The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's the 11th of August, 2025. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Canes camp continues. The first official, I'm going to call it official scrimmage of the fall is in the books, was held Sunday at a Green Tree. But, you know, honestly, the way Mario Cristobal runs training camp, they scrimmage almost every single day. They don't tackle to the ground every day, and they were tackling to the ground on Sunday. You know, that scrimmage was probably most useful for the defense for that reason, because they're getting used to game and tackling. But they're trying not to do a ton of that because they don't want people getting hurt. And so in that sense, you know, maybe these two official scrimmages, there'll be another one next weekend, are real important for the defense because that's their chance to get the timing down of live tackling on the ball. But in terms of running plays, in terms of offensive football, situational football, everything else, I mean, they really do that stuff in practice every single day, to be honest with you guys. And you know, so I wouldn't put too much stock in, you know, too much of the chatter that's been going on coming off the scrimmage on Sunday. And I'm going to start with the quarterback situation because somebody goes on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's been insane lately, Matt. There's been so much crazy stuff, including you, on Twitter here in the last several days. But like somebody posts on Twitter that a change could be coming at quarterback, that Emory Williams was going to be demoted and Judd Anderson was going to be promoted to the number 2 quarterback spot. And like, listen, I'll go out on the limb and say I don't think anything could be further than the truth. You know, I want to talk about the 2-week body of work on this show that we've been able to see. And, you know, Carson Beck is clearly on the way back. Do I think he's in midseason form? You know, 2023 Carson Beck mode yet? No, I don't. But he's got 3 weeks to get there. I mean, you got to remember this guy didn't throw a football for 4 or 5 months. So, you know, he's certainly on the right trajectory for sure. Obviously very poised, running the offense. Emory Williams has been kind of interesting because he spent a lot of time in the offseason trying to get better. And he clearly did. Like, I mean, he's throwing the deep ball phenomenally. Like I would argue he's throwing the deep ball as well as Carson Beck. But he's not as solid and consistent as Carson Beck. And that's why Carson Beck is the $4 million quarterback coming out of the transfer portal. And Emory is still trying to find his way here in college football. But what I'd like to see him do here in these last few weeks of training camp is just get more consistent. You know, he could be needed this season. And this is a season where Miami is looking to do big things. And whether that's a realistic goal, I don't think we're going to know really until we get through the Notre Dame and then the Gator games after that in the first month of the season. I think we'll have a really good idea of how good this team can be. I don't feel like we know that right now in training camp. Me personally, I'm going to ask Matt about that in a minute. But as far as Emory Williams is concerned, like consistency, you know, eliminate, you know, he sometimes makes the big mistakes and things like that. I want to see him get more consistent here in these last couple weeks of training camp. And I think that's his mission. But in terms of on the cusp of losing his job, I really believe that there will be an effort to redshirt Luke Nickel, as there should be, which would leave him with 4 years to play. And he can appear in up to 4 games. So that, you know, we might see him appear in 4 games at some point. But I don't think that they're going to blow his red shirt this year. I really don't. And Judd Anderson is better, but not even to me, you know, and people are going to accuse me of being pro Emory or whatever, you know, to my eye, Judd is nowhere close to Emory right now. So I don't think that there's any change in the offering at the quarterback position. I'll eat my fingers if I'm wrong, but I really don't expect to be doing that. So, Matt, let me go to you here. Like, I don't think after these first couple of weeks of practice that we have a grasp on how good this team's going to be. I don't feel like I do. In a few weeks, I'm going to write a column and I'm going to have to, make a prediction. Are they going to win 9 games, 10 games, 11 games? Some people think they could go as bad as 6-6, which is kind of unfathomable. I don't believe that. But as we sit here today, after all of the work that we've watched here these first couple of weeks, I don't feel like I have a grasp on how good this team's going to be. Your thoughts?
6-6. Yeah, this all makes sense now. I mean, because I encourage fans to do this also, because that's all I did. While you were ranting for 5 minutes, I typed GARY space FERMAN into Google, and then I went to the AI mode. And you scroll down a few paragraphs, and it says, in addition to his work with CaneSport, Ferman also went to Texas A&M and is a fan of both the University of Miami and Texas A&M. He believes that the Miami football program is improving and that the fan base will support the team if they are competitive. So I didn't know that you were also a fan of Texas A&M. I mean, that's totally unprofessional of you to be covering the Miami Hurricanes for all these years and pretending you're a Miami, person. You love the Hurricanes so much when you were an Aggie the whole time. Now I know where the 6-6 comes from. It's all coming together. But do I know what this Miami team is? Like, you never know until they face the first pretty good opponent, and you really don't know until they face the next good opponent, right? Because those first 2 games, it's almost like year 1 and year 2 for a player, right? They make so much improvement from year 1 to year 2. The team we see against Notre Dame, whether they look great or terrible, they could look very different 3 games later against Florida. Did they improve their weaknesses? Did Florida discover their weaknesses and take advantage of them? And on top of that, in game 1, you'll see upsets, right? There's teams that are not even close competitive-wise, roster-wise, that upset major programs in game 1. Not all the time, but it's not that infrequent. Like, it happens. Every year it happens, right? Early in the season, these crazy upsets. So, with that said, do I have a grasp of what Miami is this year? I do have a grasp of what Miami is. And the reason I do is because they're starting so many guys that we sort of know what they are, right? They're starting 10 or 11 transfers, right? And we know from watching them play last year at other programs, are they good, what they can do against other major programs? Like, we've seen it. So I have a pretty good grasp on their talent levels, right? Because they're not year 1 to year 2 massive improvements. They're mostly juniors and seniors who you sort of know what they are, right? If you're a 4th or 5th year guy in college, the jump between the 4th and 5th year isn't that tremendous. Right. So we sort of know what those guys are, and some of them are really good. And some of them, you say, maybe they'll be okay. And on offense, I feel like I know Carson Beck's a great quarterback. So overall, what I believe about this team is that the defense is going to be much better. Okay. Yes. I think it'll be a top 30 defense, and I think they'll be especially strong against the pass, and they'll be weak against the run compared to the pass. I'm not saying they're terrible. For those that clip my things, they're not going to be terrible. They're not going to be 120th in the country against the run. Okay. But they might be 45th, and they might be 10th against the pass, and wind up being 20th in total defense. Okay. Like, that wouldn't be the end of the world, right? I think they'll struggle more against the run than they will against the pass, which is why I keep saying I don't love the matchup against Notre Dame's offense. And then I feel like on the offensive side of the ball, they certainly aren't going to be as good as last year. I don't care what Miami coaches say that they're just as good, whatever. They're not going to be the number 1 offense in the country. Like, I'm sorry. They have too many pieces that are missing. And when you go out and you have to get Keelan Marion and Tony Johnson in the second portal window and pay them, right? It's not like, oh, let's just give away the money for backups, right? They are paying those guys because they think they can contribute based on what they already had in the spring that they saw. Okay, because what they saw in the spring is what you and I saw, Gary, and what we still see is 3 true freshmen who are out of this world good, but coaches do not want to trust true freshmen against Notre Dame in game 1 and maybe not even Florida in game 4, right? That's just the nature of the beast. Like, you don't know. They get overexcited. They're thrown up in garbage cans before the game. Like, that's what freshmen do. Like, that's the thing. They get very nervous or excited or whatever you want to call it. And so, or they ate it. Can I say Chipotle? What, didn't Chipotle have a problem several years ago? Are they going to sue me for that? Whatever. They ate some bad food, whatever. But
Don't get us sued, please.
And then you take Keelan Marion.
I get in enough trouble. From
right.
things you say on this show.
That's
I don't
true.
need Chipotle.
Maybe it'll be a sponsor. Tell them you want to be.
Matt Shodell is slandering our product on your morning show.
Stop saying bad stuff if they're a sponsor. So anyway, but you take these two guys and I know Miami fans like Keelan Marion's a speed demon. He had a great play in the scrimmage, and Tony Johnson, he's going to be shifty in the slot, and he's a veteran. But neither of those guys have had over 500 yards in a season. That's just a fact. And they've been around for a while.
And they're not going to have over 500 this season either.
They're both seniors. Well, whatever it is, my whole point is Miami took them, right, knowing they're not great, knowing they're good, wily veterans who, and Keelan Marion will be excellent on special teams, by the way, but he's never really translated that onto offense ever, at least statistically, okay? And then you've got a guy like CJ Daniels in the first portal window who could be great, but he had a great year at Liberty, and then he struggled at LSU, and people can say, oh, but it was his foot, whatever, but you don't know, right? Because Liberty faces some pretty bad cornerbacks, right? He's facing better cornerbacks at LSU. Yeah. He's facing better cornerbacks at Miami. You don't know. So the bottom line is Carson Beck can be great. The receivers need to step up. We don't know what's there. That's the position I don't know. I don't know wide receiver, and I don't know defensive tackle. I feel like linebacker is going to be fine. Mohamed Torre, from what I've seen now, I'm pretty comfortable with linebacker. And I think Wesley Bissaint's always been at least good in games. Great in practices, good in games. I'll take that. The cornerbacks are going to be great. And the safeties will be okay. They'll be okay. I don't think they're going to be great, but they'll be better than last year. The system will suit them better. Those are the parts I don't know. Wide receiver and defensive tackle. And if those two positions pan out and are excellent, this is a team that makes a run in the playoffs. And if both those positions are average, this is a team that probably wins 10 games and loses in the AC title game or in the first round of the playoffs. And if they're both bad, then it's a team that wins 8 or 9 games. Because you see Carson Beck, last year Carson Beck had one of the worst Pro Football Focus numbers I've ever seen. I think it was maybe in the teens or low 20s percent grading when under pressure.
Players around him didn't come through.
Yeah, when under pressure, Carson Beck, statistically by Pro Football Focus, not Matt Shodell, is terrible. And the good news is Miami has a great offensive line and a great running game to take that away from the defense. But if the receivers aren't open and he's dropping back to throw, he's not Cam Ward, okay? He's not running the scramble drill. So the receivers have to get open in this offense. Otherwise it becomes one-dimensional. Everyone's bringing up their safeties. It gets tough to run the ball. Now they're blitzing, and now the receivers are being covered one-on-one, and they still can't get open, and it's just a disaster. So much rides on these wide receivers. So much, which is why I understand that people were freaking out when Matt Shodell was taken out of context saying that maybe the receivers are bad, maybe they're average, maybe they're good. All they got was the bad part, right? Because the cornerbacks are so good. The cornerbacks, I think, are outstanding. I think that's the strength of the defense, cornerback and defensive end. But the point of that is, like Gary said, you don't know whether the receiver's bad, average, or good. Because when the cornerbacks are that good, well, Notre Dame's cornerbacks are pretty good too, right? So can they get open on those guys? I don't know. So that's going to be the key matchup, and we'll take a closer look at that. But that's going to be the key matchup in that first game is Miami's wide receivers against those Notre Dame DBs, man. Because if those receivers struggle to get open, that's going to be a tough game to win.
All right. I know I said I don't have a feel for how good this team's going to be, and I really don't. But I do have a pretty good feel for the receivers. I really do, and I don't think I'm as concerned about it as you are in terms of the big picture of the season. What I am a little concerned about is we don't know what's going to happen on August the 31st in that insane asylum called Hard Rock Stadium. Again, it's going to be lit up to the max, and the best receivers on the team are young kids that have never played college football before, in my opinion. And I think that you guys are going to end up seeing that as the season moves forward. So, I want more. To me, Josh Moore can be as good as some of the great Miami receivers of the past.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the kid's got so much ability. I mean, he really does. And
why can't we Jeremiah Smith it and start him? Why can't he be the starter? I don't understand. They should be saying right now he's starting.
He's probably the best receiver on the team. So if he's not out there for the first snap,
he better
on
be.
August 31st, I will be shocked.
He better be.
But the kid has he's got speed, he's got size, he's got radius, he's got hands. He's got to just learn to run crisp routes, and he's working on that every day in practice. And the sky's the limit for Josh Moore at Miami. It really, really is. I mean, Malachi Toney should be going into his senior year of high school right now, and I would probably say he's wide receiver 2 right now. I mean,
and let me interrupt you real quickly. So Carson Beck kept clean last year, 90.9 passer rating, one of the best in the country. Under pressure, 30.6%, really bad, with a 16% fumble grade. He doesn't protect the ball. He doesn't make completions. He was 27 for 70 passing under pressure with 5 interceptions last year. So you just can't let
Shannon Shannon's got to coach that out of him. But
But anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. But Malachi Toney should be going into his senior year of high school, and I think he's wide receiver 2. Right?
Isn't that crazy? Joshua Moore and Malachi Toney, 2 freshmen, should be starting with a transfer as a third starter. Like that should be the lineup.
Yeah.
But will it be? Or JoJo Trader?
Sorry,
JoJo. I should have mentioned you. But those 2 guys need to start. Period.
Yeah, and JoJo Trader, I'll put in obviously there as well with those 2, and then CJ Daniels, as long as the expectations of him are reasonable and people aren't expecting him to be the CJ Daniels that he was at Liberty, because this isn't Liberty, okay, and they're not playing a Liberty schedule here this fall, but CJ Daniels is a veteran guy who's played a lot of college football and clearly has skills to contribute to the overall product of this offense. And he's going to get a lot of reps and a lot of looks. So beyond those 4 guys, the Tony Johnsons of the world, I don't really know what his role is going to be because they've got Dalen Upshaw, they've got Nikar, Ray Joseph. To me, is one of the more improved players on the team.
Yeah,
I can't put a finger on what he's doing different. Whether it's that he's running better routes. I mean, I can't imagine he's faster than he's been. I mean, this is a kid, and he
does look faster.
He does. He looks like he's doing everything a little bit better. And I'll own this. Like, I thought we were going to see this 2 years ago, and I said it, and it didn't play out. And I think Ray Joseph's going to catch a lot of footballs this year. Exactly how it's going to play out, I'm not sure. But without question, the best receivers on the team are guys that, with all respect to the catch that JoJo had in the bowl game, they're guys that have never done it on a college football field before. How are they going to react on December 31st under the lights in the most insane atmosphere? I'm hoping that we've ever seen at Hard Rock. I'm hoping that it can even eclipse what we saw in 2017. Because man, that was a fun night. We'd love to have another night like that, right? So it's going to be really, really interesting. But the receiver position is actually not one that I'm that concerned about at all, to be honest. It's going to be interesting to see. They got to keep the running backs healthy. Charmar Brown to me is a good workman-like back, not even close to the level of Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle. So they got to stay healthy there. They're good there. I like it. I like Pringle too. Wheatley Humphrey can make some contributions, but to me they got to stay healthy there. And same thing at tight end. Alex Bauman, he looks okay to us, right, Matt? I mean.
He's a decent blocker, a good red zone threat. He's not a guy who's going to make plays down the field, but
he's not going to remind anybody of Arroyo. Now, Lofton obviously is going to have a big role in the offense, hopefully, and is in his own way going to be a big time player, but he's not a prototype tight end either. Luka Gilbert is probably the best looking of the 2 freshmen, but how much is he really going to be able to contribute this year? I mean, I wouldn't put huge expectations there. So staying healthy is a big deal in terms of the offensive skill positions, in my opinion. You agree, Matt?
Yeah, and they're going to play. They play 4 tight ends. That's what Shannon Dawson does. I've said this before, but you see what Corey Heatherman's doing, and it's funny. People praised Lance Guidry for some of what Heatherman's doing, which is people running all over the place, and trying to confuse the offense. There's a way for players to understand it easier, right? It's still a 4-2-5. It's still a lot of movement. You're not going to have the bad mismatches, right, with safeties covering slot guys and linebackers trying to cover wide receivers, right? That's what he avoids, which Lance Guidry couldn't avoid. But you're still going to see very similar concepts. And the difference also is he now has cornerbacks. To run a defense like that, and not that Lance Guidry would have been successful, but he would have been a lot better if they had top cornerbacks. Because to run a defense that they want to run, an aggressive defense, you have to have top cornerbacks, which is why you saw Mario throwing money at more than just 2 or 3 guys in the portal, because he knows how important that is. He saw last year firsthand how everything falls apart, whether you have a great defensive line, great linebackers. If you don't have cornerbacks, and especially also if you don't have safeties helping out or knowing what they're doing, that defense cannot function. So he addressed that. And I think Corey Heatherman is going to be very successful, not just because the players understand what he wants to do and because he's a decent coordinator, but because the personnel upgrade at cornerback makes it so massively different. When you don't have to rely on safety help every single time, because a game can hinge on 1 or 2 explosive plays, right? And for a defensive coordinator, if you do a safety blitz and the touchdown goes to that side of the field on the corner that you left on an island, your head coach ain't going to be happy with you. Okay, that'll be the end of that relationship pretty quick if you keep doing that. But if he feels he can trust them and they come through, I mean, how many avenues does that open up for you as a defensive coordinator? You can do all sorts of things when you have 2 corners, O.J. Frederick and Xavier Lucas, who you don't have to worry about. And that's what he has. These are 2 NFL-level cornerbacks, in my opinion. I think they'll both be playing in the NFL for years. That's enormous. That's huge. Like, that's why I'm not so concerned about the defense, and I keep talking about the receivers more so, because I think that's you can't pay enough money in gold, which Mario did do. So I guess he did pay enough to get these guys. So anyway, but now the shift to me, and again, I said the receivers, Shannon Dawson. Like, we don't talk about it enough. I mentioned it on one show. The load on Shannon Dawson's shoulders this year to prove himself is extraordinary. And yeah, you could argue, well, Carson Beck's an NFL first-round type, and Cam Ward was an NFL first-round type, obviously. So why would it be different, right? The difference was what Miami now has at cornerback, they had at receiver last year, right? They had really, really talented receivers coming back that they knew were really good. Xavier Restrepo, Jacoby George. They knew Horton was great, right? And they added Sam Brown, who you knew was going to be good. He actually had 800 whatever yards, right? Not 400 yards like the guys they brought in this year. Not that these guys can't be great, by the way. If you clip my video, don't say I said they're terrible. They could be great.
Yeah, be careful.
I got to do a caveat on every single thing I say now.
Be careful.
Yeah, but the whole point is now, Shannon Dawson has to recognize, unlike what Lance Guidry did. Like, Lance Guidry didn't recognize that weakness early enough, and he kept on exposing it over and over. Shannon Dawson has to recognize what Gary Ferman claims is going to be a strength at wide receiver. He has to recognize, and coaches have a really hard time doing this. If it's early in the year, early in the Notre Dame game, and the receivers are not getting open, he better damn well have an entire different playbook for the tight ends, the running back passing game, some sort of diversionary misdirections to create space for those receivers, force the defense to focus on something else, and then come back to the receivers. If he's just going with the same damn playbook he had with Cam Ward, and he expects whoever's in the slot to be open like Xavier Restrepo, and whoever's on the outside to run by guys like Jacoby George, and we'll just go with that, that will be a massive failure. And we're going to find out very quickly, because I think Notre Dame is going to have some success. They have a top secondary. That's a strength for them. Yeah. And it's on Shannon Dawson's shoulders as much as anybody else on that offense, named Carson Beck, to figure out ways to get the ball in all sorts of different venues to Elijah Lofton. We've seen these running backs can all catch the ball except for one of them, who I don't want to name because God forbid I call anyone out. But most of the running backs can catch the ball really well out of the backfield. You've got options on that offense to do things. And I hope that it's not just these swing passes to the sidelines for the first 2 drives, 3 drives, and runs up the middle. If that's what, and then maybe one deep pass on the first throw to say, hey, we'll go deep on you guys. You better keep the safeties back. That's not what I want. I want innovation. I want misdirection. In that first game, that first couple of series, that Notre Dame defense is going to be freaking gearing up like crazy and chasing the ball and probably being out of position once in a while with linebackers who are reading with, the eye discipline fails when emotions take over. And you've got to get them early thinking. You got to get in their heads early. And that's Shannon Dawson's job. And it's not throwing swing passes with 2 blockers in front, 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And it's not running the ball first down and second down up the middle to set up a third and manageable. Okay, you got to take it to Notre Dame, know your strengths, know their weaknesses, and prove yourself as an offensive coordinator in a way you didn't when Cam Ward was running your offense, because Cam Ward made that offense go. He created his own offense 25% of the time.
All right. So let me jump into this subject now, because I'm a Shannon Dawson believer, and here's why. He's not the same Shannon Dawson that came here from Houston. He has evolved, okay? He has embraced the mandates of Cristobal, and he has incorporated the Alabama run game that Cristobal and Mirabal bring to the equation, with the play action pass, with the air raid offense that he's known for his career. And I think that gives him the versatility that you're talking about, Matt. I agree with you. His play sheets better be prepared, because
I didn't say he's bad. I didn't say he's bad. I didn't say he's good. I said this is what he has to prove.
You said he wants to prove that you want.
He has to prove himself. He has not. To me, he has not proven himself. Is all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's bad or good.
And I don't see anything wrong with that. With saying that, and I don't think anybody will be offended by it. But because he doesn't
get offended.
Somebody
remember last year we used to get emails from like Lance Guidry's brother. Why is Matt being so mean to Lance? Do you remember this? Every week, every week. Lance is doing a great job. What's Matt talking about? Matt's an idiot. Remember?
Because Lance is about to get himself fired. That's why, brother Guidry.
Like Matt doesn't know football. Matt doesn't know what he's looking at. Like I don't understand. I was breaking down film. I'm like, what is he doing here? Why is this guy covering that guy? I don't know. I don't want to harp on it too much, but
But Shannon Dawson, he's evolved, and he knows how to use all of the weapons that are at his disposal now. It's just not just pass, throw the ball down the field. Remember when he came here, it was all about deep shots, taking 5, 6, 7, 8 deep shots a game, all about deep shots. I don't know that you're going to see that this year. It's using all of the branches of the offense to put together the whole. And I don't think Miami's going to be consumed with being the number one offense in the country this year. I think they're going to be consumed with being an efficient offense that scores, that doesn't put their defense, which is markedly better than it was a year ago, in bad situations. And, that's what I think you guys as fans should prepare yourselves for and focus on. It might be a little bit different this year. There's going to be times where they're going to say it's okay to punt, we'll see how all this plays out. But, I do believe that the Shannon Dawson model of now 2025 is prepared for the challenge that he has with this particular football team. He's got to keep Carson Beck healthy too, because there is a drop off from Carson to Emery. Emery is better than he was a year ago, but there is a drop off, no question about it. And then there's another drop off from there. So got to keep Carson healthy, and probably going to mean that he has to be a little bit more controlled on offense. On the flip side, more of his play calls are going to get executed because, Cam was switching almost every run play to a pass play. A lot of times last year, he was on a mission to try to win the Heisman, to try to become the number one pick in the draft, while also leading the Hurricanes to victory. And I think he did a pretty good job of it, and it got away at the end, unfortunately. But Cam Ward certainly is not where you point the finger for that. Although I will say that run, I think it was 28-7 in the middle of the Syracuse game that they gave up. The offense did have possessions in there that it could have kept scoring, and it wasn't able to. It was not just the defense to blame for that critical loss of the season. I'll say not just the defense, and Jacoby George, who took that dumbass penalty late in the game that probably cost them a touchdown and a victory, in my opinion. But, so anyway, just to wrap up the offense, I don't think we have to talk a lot about the offensive line. We know what we expect there. We expect them to be very good. And it'll be interesting to see if it plays out that way. I don't think it's automatic. You don't have Jalen Rivers anymore. You're breaking in a new center. I don't know that it's as automatic as we all want it to be or think it's going to be. But if they can't count on the O-line, which is probably the best put together position maybe on the team, then that's going to be problematic here this season. All right, Matt, let's turn our attention a little bit here to defense. Defensive tackle we came into training camp thinking we want to see something emerge at defensive tackle. Like, they've only been in pads for a few days, and we've gotten to see some one-on-one drills and some combo blocking drills and stuff in practice. I am not ready to say that I feel that puzzle is solved. It's probably my biggest question mark on the team. I feel really good about what I've seen of the safeties, way even better than you feel about it. I agree with you on the corners, much better. Even when you get past OJ Frederick and Xavier Lucas, I like what I'm seeing from Damari Brown. I hope he stays healthy. Ethan O'Connor is having a very good camp. Looks way better to me than he looked in the spring. So, I think there's good things going on there. Scott as the nickel corner, I think is going to be okay. Maybe not quite as good as the other guys, but I think he's going to be okay. But I don't feel like the defensive tackle puzzle has been fully solved, at least based on what we've been able to see to this point.
Yeah, and Damari Brown and Ethan O'Connor would probably start at most programs at corner. Like, they're so deep at cornerback, it's ridiculous. Deep, talented. I mean, it's. I think we have championship level cornerbacks, but yeah, D tackle. I would say to me, the guy with the pads on that looked the best so far is Justin Scott. David Blake doesn't really move. He moves better than I thought he would after hearing what the defensive tackles coach said about him being an anchor and not being able to move. He can move a little bit, but I don't quite know where they go with defensive tackle because, in passing situations, right, you can move a Hayden Lowe inside. But teams are going to be really trying to pound the ball up the middle, I have a feeling, all year long. And Mo Torre, I was talking to Rutgers, actually a big Rutgers booster the other night, and he loves Mo Torre. They're all still rooting for Mo Torre. They love him. He's so good, and and they're rooting for him. And talking about just what a force he is. I mean, he is a force. Like, you look at his body, and he looks like a professional weightlifter, but he can run. He's fluid. He has hips. Most of these really built guys, they're very stiff.
But he was a converted defensive end at Rutgers. He has to prove, that he's really a middle linebacker.
He is. He played linebacker there. He played for Corey Heatherman at Rutgers. Like, they know exactly what they have.
But is he a middle linebacker if Notre Dame goes smash mouth, for example?
He's a physical punishing guy. Yeah, there's no doubt.
If he is, it's going to be great.
He's the last guy I'm worried about. Now, what Corey Heatherman will do, and what we've already seen.
Doesn't it also depend what's going on in front of him? Think about that too. I mean,
yeah, no, I understand, but they're going to have to load up the box. They're going to have to load up the box. That's what I was talking about before. Load up the box. Trust your corners. That's the beauty of having great corners, right? That's what. And Corey Heatherman will do it. He's done it. He did it at Minnesota. He's going to do it. But what we've seen him start doing is really hone in on the star position, right? A Cam Pruitt, a guy who has enough speed and length to cover if he has to, a tight end, but who can help against that Notre Dame punishing run. I fully expect this to look a lot more like a 4-3 than a 4-2-5 when they play Notre Dame. I really do. And that's the beauty of Corey Heatherman. Unlike the last coordinator, who I guess I don't want to pick on too much, like, he will change stuff for an opponent, right? The other defense last year, they did the same thing every damn game. And once people started doing, throwing the ball over the top against them, it was over. Like, they never found a way to prevent it. He would just send more guys to try to get to the quarterback quicker. That was his solution was, well, if we get to the quarterback quicker, they won't be able to hit the ball down the field. But when you don't get to the quarterback for those 3 or 4 plays quicker, it's a touchdown, right? That was the problem they had last year, was those 5-6 explosive plays every damn game. So I fully expect it to look a lot more, and you can remember this when we play Notre Dame, it's going to look like a 4-3. They will have a third big body, 7 guys in the box, a big third body in the box. And I think that's going to be their key. And if that doesn't work, they'll start bringing the safeties up. Like, he will do whatever it takes, okay, to stop the run. But if they can't stop them with the 2 interior defensive tackles and the star and the 2 linebackers, like, that will be a problem. Like, that will create a massive problem. There's no doubt about it. The hope has to be that it'll be good enough. And then the other thing is, people don't talk about this enough either. Yeah, the defensive tackles are an issue. But Ruben Bain and Akeem Messidor and Hayden Lowe on first and second downs, right? And by the way, Armando Blunt, They are big, strong, physical, set the edge defensive ends. And there's no reason they can't twist inside if Notre Dame's constantly doing inside run. Okay? There's things you can do. There's
Mesidor's lighter than he was a year ago.
He's
Bain,
still 260. He's still 260.
Yeah, but Bain doesn't want to play inside.
No, he's not playing inside. I'm saying they're physical ends, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is if they're pushing, in other words, if Heatherman decides to have them push in from the end position, right? Instead of setting the edge on the outside, right? You're pushing them in. Because if Notre Dame's doing inside run, inside run, and killing you with that, right? Heatherman will do things to prevent that. He'll make the windows smaller, right? And that's the beauty of having a great defense coordinator. You have to anticipate what the other team's going to do. You have to see what they're doing successfully and then plan how to stop it. And then once Notre Dame realizes, oh, crap, they've stopped it by doing this, then Notre Dame goes to something else, and now you go to something else. That's why they call it chess, right? Last year, Miami had one chess piece, and it was a pawn. This year, you're going to see a lot of different moving parts. And you can already tell people who have seen the scrimmage, people who have seen the full practices, they will tell you this is a multiple defense. It's a defense that players view as simple, but that opponents will think is complicated. The other quarterback will not know what's coming on a regular routine basis, where the blitz is coming from, where he's going to need his protections from. And in the run game, you know, how they're attacking the run game and how they're attacking the offensive line as blitzers or just pass rushers, the things they're going to do. I mean, you could put on the Minnesota tape. There's a reason Minnesota was one of the top teams in the country at tackles for loss and sacks last year with Heatherman. He finds ways to attack each opponent, and they seem to work. Now, can he translate that to Miami with his personnel? At defensive end, he sure as hell can. At linebacker, he sure as hell can. Safety, maybe not so much. So just like with Shannon Dawson, he has to recognize the strengths he has and use them, right? You have strong physical defensive ends that are veterans. They don't constantly have to be doing the same pass rush one-on-one, right? There's different ways you can use them to help in the run game, and they have to understand that and be okay with that. I know ends love to just try and get sacks. Just ask Jalen Phillips in his bowl game, right? And we all remember that. Yeah. But if they play disciplined, if they follow what Heatherman says, they can beat Notre Dame by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like, they have the ability to do that because this defense is vastly improved. And if Shannon Dawson calls the game the way he should on offense, they should put up 30 points, right? This could be a 30-10, 30-14 blowout. But if they are not able to stop the Notre Dame run, if Shannon Dawson is very conservative for the first 2 quarters plus, waiting to see, are we behind? Are we ahead? Let's just keep it close. We don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to have any mistakes happen on my end. Let the defense carry the day. Then this is one of those games that goes, just goes either way, which is why this basically is pick 'em, right? It's 2.5 points, but it's probably going to go down to 1 or 2 points, I would guess, before the game starts. So
it's going to be a fascinating game. It really is.
I mean, this is going to be one of those real chess match games. It really is. This is not just one of those games mano a mano. If people think football, strongest team, fastest team wins. This will not be one of those games. Rookie quarterback on the other team, a brand new defense with only 4 returning starters, and everyone else is basically a transfer except for Justin Scott on defense. Like, it's going to be interesting because
it's the kind of game that Mario loves.
Brand new system of defense, brand new. Notre Dame has a new coordinator. Like, it's going to be it's going to be more of a chess match than a normal game. And after the game's over, we'll analyze it and we'll see who won the chess match. And I play chess, by the way. The disclaimer: I do play chess. Not very good at it. Actually, I'm decent. I was on the chess team in high school.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm expecting a game.
That's how you know I'm a cool guy. When you're on the chess team, I mean, what says cool like that, right? Play baseball and chess.
You're the coolest. The coolest.
Cool. I play the violin. I play the violin. Yeah. How cool is that?
No, you don't.
I still have it. Yeah, I play the violin.
You play the violin.
I was an all-county violinist. I actually did all-county for violin back then.
Next show.
I'm not playing the violin. I haven't played the violin since I was in high school.
No. You opened the can of
worms. The violin. I'm not playing the violin.
I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one doing the
show. No way I'm playing the violin.
Show right now that wants to hear.
I will take it out of the closet. I will show you the violin. I will not play the violin. I haven't tuned it.
We want at least
in
a
30
1
years.
minute. We want at least a 1 minute Matt Shodell violin concert on the next Good Morning CaneSport show.
I will prove I played the violin by showing you my violin. I can get it right now. Do you want me to get it right now? And I'll show it to you?
No, I don't want to talk to myself right now.
But I'm playing the violin.
But I want you to have it ready for the next show. We want a concert. We want a 1 minute. Only 1 minute. Only 1 minute. We don't want
Is
to
this with your wife and children? Like, you don't take no for an answer? Like, I want my steak and potatoes. I don't care that you bought fish and just cooked it.
I want to hear you play the violin. I don't believe you can play it. So
I just told you I can't. I haven't played in 30 years. I said I played it in high school. What did you do in high school? Can you still run a 4.9, 5.40 like you did in high school? Probably not.
But, anyway, so, defensively, I'm probably not quite as there as you are. I got to see how this all works on August 31st. Bain and Mesdor are rock solid. We know that. I'm just not sure, when you talk about the front seven, how everything's going to be around them. I hope it's great. But I don't feel like I know for sure yet. I really don't. There's still questions in my mind. The thing I do know for sure is what Matt's been saying about the cornerbacks. I love what I'm seeing at cornerback, and even more so than Matt, I like what I'm seeing at safety. I think they're markedly better than they were a year ago in the secondary, and hopefully that bodes well. Even when you get out of the month of September in this ACC conference, which has good quarterbacks. It's the conference of quarterbacks right now. Almost every team has a decent quarterback in the ACC. So that's going to be really interesting as well. Let me think if there's anything we have to say about the kickers. Dylan Joyce as punter is punting as well as he ever has. I personally think even better. If there's going to be a better punter in the country, I don't know who that's going to be. And the field goal battle to me is going to be really, really interesting. If you're expecting the Borgalis brothers out there this year, I think you're going to be disappointed. I don't think they're going to get Borgalis level production. I don't think they're going to try to get Borgalis level production. I think you're going to love the way the ball explodes off Carter Davis's foot. Real strong leg. Such a marked difference between, the two kickers in terms of leg strength. But, accuracy, I don't know, man. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to get myself in trouble. I just think it's going to be an interesting competition to see who emerges there on August the 31st. But I do like Carter Davis a lot from what I see. And if he can keep building the consistency to go with the leg that he has, I wouldn't rule him out for sure. Even though, Bert Auburn came from Texas and kicked last year. So that's going to be very, very, very interesting. What else, Matt? Anything else that we should talk about today, team-wise?
I think we gave enough people to complain about.
Yeah, I think we kind of gave you a pretty good update on where things are right now. And, we'll see how it continues to develop here over these next few weeks. Anyway, today is a complete off day at Miami. My understanding is that Mario Cristobal has told his staff, do not even come to the office. He wants people recharging their batteries for this final 3-week push to Notre Dame. And, I'm sure they'll enjoy some time fishing or whatever for a few hours. I know Mario himself's going to be in the office. There's no way. He's not taking a day off. No chance. But in terms of coverage on the website today, we've got a couple other stories that you guys can sink your teeth into. We have a story on Carson Beck. Just a little bit more detail on how he's eyeing a Hollywood ending. Take a look at how CJ Daniels is emerging as a big brother in the receiver room. So that's an interesting story as well. And we'll have continued recruiting coverage here all week long. The guys were out at Media Day this past weekend, out at Dolphin Training Camp. Got to talk to a lot of guys. So we'll have a steady stream of recruiting stories coming your way here over the next few days as well. If you are not yet a CaneSport subscriber, now is the time. Please, please, please come aboard the CaneSport family. Your subscriptions allow us to do what we do every single day. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We thank you so much for starting out your day with us this morning. We'll see you next time, everybody.